Hi guys, we are going to continue with mixture problems today. Hopefully with the worksheet and all the extra work, you guys are feeling pretty good about the ones that we're mixing things with weight. Today's is extremely similar, and a lot of kids actually find this one easier, probably because it's almost identical to what you already did, and some of it is already laid out for you, so it's fewer words, I guess, which makes it a little easier. Same concept, we're mixing two things together, except this time we're going to be mixing liquids. So yesterday or a couple days ago we mixed solids together. Today we're going to be mixing liquids. So I still want you to think about your bucket. You're mixing things in this bucket. Okay, let's say you have some Gatorade and you feel like it is way too sweet. Okay, you got the normal stuff and it was just too sweet and you want to dilute it. So you're going to put some water in it to make it a little less sweet. So you're going to mix Gatorade and you're going to mix water. Okay? Gatorade is super strong, okay? So say it's like sugary. So let's say it's like 75% sugar. And then the water is no sugar, so it's 0%. And then you're going to mix it together and you want to mix, let's say, 50% sugar. You're going to do that, so you're mixing Gatorade, water, and you want your final product to be 50% sugar instead of the original Gatorade that was 75% sugar. So you need to mix something strong, the 75%, with something weak, the 0%, to get something in the middle. So you're going to mix your highest and your lowest and end up somewhere in between. So just like before when we mixed something expensive and something cheap, today's it's going to be your highest percentage, your lowest percentage, and then your mix ends up in the middle. Okay? So instead of being given pounds and things like that, you're going to be given percentages of how strong something is, okay, how the liquid is. So, same chart. The only difference is that this third column is percentage instead of price. There are no prices for this one. So for parts 1 and part 2, this is still going to look, it's going to be like percentages. So you're going to do like 50%, 75%, whatever it is. You're going to put the percentages here. But it's going to be, you're going to do your highest. And then it's got to be your lowest. So you have to mix the highest and then the lowest, and then you end up somewhere in the middle. Okay? So your highest percentage with your lowest percentage, and you end up with the percentage in the middle. How much? This time it's going to be, instead of weight, it's going to be volume. Okay, so units of volume. So it's the same idea, but it's not going to be pounds. It's going to be like ounces, okay, or gallons, things like that. Percent. This part's simple because you actually already did all the work in the first column. The only difference is that here you need to write the percent as a decimal. Okay, that's the only thing you have to do, is you have to just take the first column and move the percentage decimals over so that you don't actually have a percent sign, because we can't put percent signs in our equations. The fourth column you find exact same way you found it before. You multiply the middle two and it equals the last one. And your equation is set up the exact same way. Okay, so all that stuff is staying the same, which makes it pretty simple. If you understood what we were doing or you got better at it, then this is going to be even easier. Okay. Chemistry experiment calls for a 30% solution of copper sulfate. Kendra has 40 milliliters of a 25% solution. How much of a 60% should she add to obtain the 30%? So here's the trick with this. It is all copper sulfate. Okay? It's all the same liquid. It's just different strengths of it. So you're not going to write copper sulfate anywhere because it doesn't do you any good because it's all copper sulfate. The only thing you care about are the percentages of it. How strong are they? Because that's what we're trying to work with. So remember, we're going to start, this should be your highest. Lowest. Middle. Always. Okay? So all you have to do is look at the percentages. I see 3 percentages. And then you just put them highest, lowest, middle. So of those 3 numbers, what's the biggest? 60%. So she has to mix the highest, the 60%, with the lowest. What's the lowest of those 3 numbers? 25%. To end up somewhere in the middle, which one's in the middle? And the only one left is the 30%. Because she has to mix something strong with something weak and end up somewhere in between. Okay, so highest, lowest, middle, every time. Okay, this next column is still the hardest, but it's going to be weight or volume this time instead of weight. So if we're looking, we see 40 milliliters, and then you just keep reading to figure out where it goes. Okay, 40 milliliters of a 25% solution. So your 25% should be in your second box because it was the lowest. So the 40 goes in here. Then remember, your variable is always in one of the top 2 boxes, so it's going to go up there. And then these 2 things are both in your bucket already, so you're going to add them together to get your entire bucket. So your bucket is going to be x plus 40. It's going to be more than just the 40. Okay. The third column is super simple. You just have to take the first column and turn it into decimals. So 60% as a decimal. If you don't know, you can put 60% enter into your calculator just to check it, but it should just be 0.6. Again, I'm going to put the 0 in front so I don't lose that decimal place. 25% is 0.25, and then 30% is 0.3. Same way as before, you multiply the 2 middle columns to get your last one. So x times 0.6 is just 0.6x. Normal numbers, just treat them normally and multiply. So 40 times 0.25 is 10. And then remember, this x plus 40 is all grouped together, so the 0.3 has to go outside of those parentheses. So you just have 0.3 times x plus 40. And then your equation is the exact same way as before. So 0.6x plus 10 equals, I'm going to distribute as I go, 0.3x plus 0.3 times 40 is 12. Then you're just solving. So if you want to pause it and solve it on your own and then check it, that's fine, but I'm going to go pretty fast. So you're going to move the 0.3 because it's smaller, which leaves you with 0.3 x plus 10 equals 12. When you subtract that, 10 over 0.3x gives you 2. And then you're dividing. This isn't going to come out pretty. That's okay. You can have decimals. I think it's 6.6 repeating, so you're just going to do let's just say 6.7. Then you just have to write me a sentence. So x is representing the amount of 60% solution. So just tell me that. So 6.67 milliliters is what we were measuring in this time, milliliters of 60% solution. So extremely, extremely similar to last time. Just percentages instead of weight. Okay? One more. Highlight your percentages first. See a percent, I'm going to highlight it. Remember, highest, lowest, middle. So of those 3 numbers, of those 3 percentages, what's my highest? is 100%, so that has to go in the first one. It's pure. Pure antifreeze. Okay, the lowest of those three numbers is 35, so I have to put 35. And then the one in the middle is 50. This is not hard, but a lot of people want to go in order. You can't do that. You have to mix the highest with the lowest and then end up somewhere in between. So make sure you always do highest, lowest, and then the middle. Okay, the middle column is the worst, or the second column is the hardest one. So you got to look for some sort of unit of volume. So you're looking. He has 2 gallons, so 2 of what? 35%. So the 35% gets a 2. Feels little, but it's gallons, so that's more. Okay, whichever one of your top 2 boxes does not have your variable is where you put it in. And then remember, you're always mixing the top 2 to get to the bottom, so you're going to add them together to get to that last mixture. Percentages as decimals. In the third column, 100% as a decimal, quote unquote, is just 1. 35% as a decimal is 0.35. And then 50% is 0.5. Your last column you always get by multiplying your middle 2 columns together. So x times 1 is just x. 2 times 0.35 is 0.7. And then this one, remember, has to go in parentheses with a 0.5 on the outside and x plus 2 inside. I encourage you to pause it if you haven't already and finish it on your own and then check back with the answer, okay? It's going to be easier for you to try to do it on your own than follow along. Always add the top 2 boxes together and it equals the last one. Distribute as you're writing your equation. Get all of your variables on the same side. So 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5. Oops. That 0.7 doesn't have an x. Okay, subtract the 0.7. And then you just divide. This one isn't beautiful, but that's okay, because we're talking about gallons, so maybe I don't want a whole gallon. That's okay, you don't need it, but it's just going to be 0.6. So then you go back up and you decide what it was of. So it's 100%, and we're talking about gallons, so 0.6 gallons of 100% solution. You can say antifreeze if you want to talk about the specific solution. That is it. Hopefully this is a little easier than it was a couple days ago, and this one doesn't throw you too far. Okay, if you need anything, let me know.